Very nice meeting to you, Shubhashis, and thanks for doing this, first of all. Uh, so, how are you feeling today, honestly?
I feel very restful. Yeah, I feel very present in the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what brings you to Kaban Park today?
What brings me to Kampa is a lovely day out here in Bangalore. It's not too sunny, but it's just bright enough and it's not overcast. So it's a lovely day to be out, and I thought I'd get some reading done. And yeah, just learn something through some books.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
I am currently reading the second part of this fantastic biography of Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Okay.
So yes, I read a lot of like political history and stuff like that.
Okay. And what's that one book which has impacted you the most? After which you were like, for a couple of days, you were like, what I read?
There's a book called Why We Sleep, and it is a compendium of a lot of like scientific research on the value of sleep. And it's very scary because we don't actually do any of that. So, for example, one of the things this book says is that if you are sleeping 6 hours continuously, and all of us think 6 hours is enough, but actually on the seventh day you're as good as legally drunk. That's how much it affects your cognitive abilities. So it was a very scary book to read, and that's why I think it is a book that everyone should read just to understand the importance of sleep.
But what was the gist of the book? What did it tell you?
It said exactly this, that you have to sleep 7 to 8 hours regularly at around the same time, which I'm sure none of us do. But it's important to know why that's so important.
Yeah, maybe we are all struggling with a lot of things in our life, maybe job and personal
Which I'm sure people have always struggled with. So it's probably not a new thing. But I think not any of us probably focus on sleeping as much.
Okay. So, how old are you right
I am 33.
And are you married?
I am not married.
Okay. And I would like to know, do you think is there any right age to get married?
I definitely don't think there's a right age to get married. I also don't think marriage is the right for everyone. So whatever sits individually for people, there's some people who choose never to be married, and I think that's perfectly all right.
But usually we feel this societal pressure even from our parents that now you're getting 30, 28, you should get married. Right?
Yeah, and I think so. I think society is changing, right? And I think it's becoming more and more accepting of different kinds of lifestyles. So I don't see. Yeah, you're right. There's obviously a lot of societal pressure, but I also feel like I think it's incumbent on people to start challenging some of those assumptions so that life is better for future generations. At the end of the day, someone challenged women's lack of equality, and that led to the women's right movement. Someone challenged for example, homophobia, and that led to the queer rights movement. And I think similarly, all of us, it's incumbent on us to start challenging social norms.
True. We see that even the Indian laws are enforcing on equality to human rights. But do you think, as a society in general, is society still very accepting of the other community?
I don't know what you mean by other community, but yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, any kind of minority groups will obviously have a harder time, right? So to that extent, no, society is not accepting. But that's how change happens, I suppose. You just keep chipping away day by day and hope that things get to a better place.
I think by doing some conversation, hearing people out, and understanding their perspective can change their mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. By having conversations, showing up at protests or rallies or whatever else, and discussions, and then supporting financially. There are lots of fantastic organizations doing work on human rights of different kinds, and supporting them financially, operationally, whatever else. So yeah, I think things that we can still do.
Okay, interesting. Now I want to know, if ever you want to look for a partner, how that partner should be for you.
Um, I think what I would like most in a partner is just being very accommodative. Like I almost think of it as two people who come together to so that their combined self is better than them individually, and that means supporting each other in following your aspirations, dreams, whatever else. And I think that becomes most important. Actually, much harder than we imagine, right? Because when the other person does something which doesn't seem right to us, our natural reaction is to somehow get angry or agitated, and therefore to be able to find a partner who, when he or she sees a difference, is not agitated by it, but actually, you know, supports you no matter what. I think that becomes the most critical thing. So I think that's the most critical thing I would look for in a partner.
Okay, interesting. And do you think that women in general are getting something wrong about men because of which there's a lot of conflict happens between both the genders.
I mean, as you rightly said, it's a conflict between both genders, and therefore the conflict happens both ways
Okay.
rather than just one way. And in general, I think many of us.
But I would like to quote in this way: what said one thing you wished that uh, women knew better about men that they usually don't get it?
If you ask me, I would say women need to know that most men are just babies.
Okay.
So you need to treat them like you treat babies. It's not your obligation to do so.
Okay.
But once you start looking at every man in the form of a baby, I think life becomes much easier.
Because somewhere I think it's a mistake of men also, because we have been portraying ourselves as that macho manly guy, always like you have to be serious and rude, and you just have to be flat face all the time.
Yeah, I mean, on a serious note, though, I do think there are certain pressures on men about how they should be, about how they should behave, about how, as you said, they need to be strong. That I don't think people acknowledge well enough. The pressures of that can be quite high as well. And I think we're already seeing in many countries across the globe almost like a male backlash. You saw it in the US elections where Elon Musk and all others on the day of election were like, hey men, get out and vote, right? So it's almost like there's a male backlash that is starting to build up. And I think it's important to diffuse that before it becomes more of a problem. And part of the reason in doing so is to really be more cognizant about the very unique social expectations that men and boys often face.
But do you think it all starts from the childhood itself, where maybe in the maybe we're in school environment, many face bullies to be in a certain way. If you are different, then that creates a trauma in a lot of us, and maybe that creates a survival mode in all of us, that we have to be in a certain way, otherwise we would look different, and then people would not accept us.
That is true, and I think everyone does that, irrespective of genders. I think women face bullying of a different nature, perhaps, but they face bullying in school as well.
Yeah.
I think the key question which you ask is really how does one, if one feels different in certain ways, and that certain way could be in how they think about it, their gender identities, their sexual identities, whatever else, what do they do about it? And yeah, I think it's tempting to say that, look, I'm going to live my life by the norm and be who society expects me to be, but I just feel that's not a very sustainable thing to do.
Suffocates also, right?
Sorry?
It does suffocate if you.
It does suffocate, right? And I think by the time you're in your 30s, by the time you're in your 40s, that suffocation is probably going to get very high. And I feel like we only live once. And I think, sure, it's going to be a harder path to living life the way we want to live it. But at some point, I think it's worth it.
Okay, okay. So, but do you think there's also one perception going nowadays that uh, men are afraid of marriage? Do you think that are men afraid of marriage these days?
I think everyone is afraid of commitment, and again, don't think it's a man-woman thing. I think, especially as social media has come and as our exposure to the world and other people has increased, I do think all of us, especially in younger generations, as I see, there's just commitment phobia, right? We don't want to commit not just to a partner, but to a life, a lifestyle, etc. And there's almost that fear of missing out on the interesting things that are happening on social media and on other people's lives. So yeah, I generally think there is perhaps a commitment phobia is probably increasing, and that affects how we look at marriage as well.
But why is that we used to see that in our father's generation or older generation, the marriage used to happen very early at the age of 22. But why that age has delayed now?
And that I don't have a problem with. I'm glad the age is delayed. People can go have fun in their 20s and then, or maybe even their 30s, and then decide to settle down if they choose to settle down. But I think that's a good thing that people are choosing what works for them, right? I think I've had enough people in my friend circle who got married in their early 20s. There's some who aren't married even now, so and I think that's totally fine. So I don't see that as really be a challenge in any way or
Okay.
a problem.
Okay, interesting. How are your relation with your parents? Are they understanding enough?
Yeah, I think my parents have had a very fantastic relationship and a very supporting relationship.
Okay. How about your relationship with your father? Do you express everything openly to
I
him?
don't express anything openly to almost anyone, so I don't think my parents
Okay,
are
okay.
privy to many of my thoughts as well. And I don't think familial relationships also need to come in exactly these templates. Right? Familial relationships can be of different natures, and just because you might not be sharing everything with your family or with your parents doesn't mean that you're not close to them. Right? You can be close to them in other ways.
Okay, interesting. And my last question would be, what's the one thing which you have felt in your life that people would have understood it better?
Can you give me the question
So,
again?
suppose sometimes we are being misunderstood, right, in a lot of ways. Sometimes we are being misunderstood for what we are not.
Hmm.
And we felt that I wished people would have understood me the way I am, the way I was.
Yeah.
Maybe my intention was taken in a wrong manner, my action was taken in
Yeah.
a wrong manner, were taken in a wrong manner. So, is that something which you have felt in your life?
I certainly have. I think as someone who's extremely introverted, very often being quiet can be conflated with being arrogant or being unapproachable or being dismissive of other people. And very often it's not. It's just that you are an introvert, you're a quiet person, and you like to be quiet. So yeah, very often in life, um, I have got the kind of feedback that, hey, look, why don't you engage more with people in office? And I'm like, I come to office to do work. I want to do work and go home, and that's where I'll engage with people, right? And but as an introvert, you often get those kind of comments and questions. So yes, I wish that we as a society understood introverts a little bit better, because I think that also helps us be more get more out of them in workplaces or be more engaged with them outside of work. So yes, I wish that was a change that I wish I could see in the world.
I hope so. I hope so. All the extrovert out there understand that we introverts are we generally do not like to speak much, but it's not like that we will not speak if you will come to us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it doesn't mean we're mean spirited or there's some conspiracy going on in our heads.
But why do you think that people who are introvert are seen as rude or arrogant?
Because I think as humans we survive on social validation. So for example, if you tell me you like a certain thing I did, or you tell me you didn't like a certain thing I did, that helps me as a human being. But the problem with introverts is you often they're what inscrutable, like you can't understand what's going on in their head. So for example, in a workplace setting, if my reportees do work in a certain way and then I don't react to it, then I think it's a challenge for them. They don't know if they've done good work or they've done bad work, and therefore that uncertainty, I think, becomes the challenge. And similarly, in private relations as well, if a person sees you not reacting to what they do, then it's very difficult for them to figure out: is this person happy? Is this person sad with me? Is this person angry with me? So a lot of my friends often text me saying, "Are we okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, we are okay." Like, but because they struggle because I don't probably say as much.
I have received a similar feedback from my parents that whenever relatives come, why you don't speak to them? It's like what to speak. I don't know what to speak because the context they are bringing it's completely unrelatable to me. So sometimes that unrelatability factor also
Exactly the
sweeps in.
same thing, man. I mean, since childhood, relatives, family, friends, whenever they come home, yeah, come talk to them. I'm like, what do I talk to them? I have nothing to talk to them about.
Yeah. Suppose if you don't watch cricket, so how will you talk about cricket, right? And everyone is talking about cricket, so you feel left out in a way.
Yeah, and therefore it can become very counterproductive. And for a lot of kids who are introverted, it can really have very deep psychological impacts on them early. And if this happens early on in their lives, it can take years to unwind it. So yeah, which is why I hope that my wish and the hope is that we become a little bit more accommodative of different kinds of people, especially early in their childhoods.
Yeah, so I want to say that one who is not speaking does not mean he has nothing to say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. It was nice talking to you, and I hope you loved the conversation as well.
Likewise, I really enjoyed the conversation and hope you keep doing more of these.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. I will. I will. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.